Hello, everyone. Very good morning, and welcome once again to our 6 days AICT sponsors teachers training program. I hope you guys enjoyed your breakfast and you all are in good health and in high spirits. And thank you so much for joining us once again. In our first session today, on day 3, we will be talking about the PO-CO mapping and its attainment, and the lecture will be delivered by Dr. Sandeep Grover from JC Bose University, YMCA Faridabad. I welcome Sir and I request Professor Sandeep Grover to take the session forward. Thank you.
Thank you so much. A very good morning to all of you. So I hope I am audible.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Dear colleagues, I will continue with from where I left yesterday. So yesterday we talked about some basic concepts and background to the OBE. Then we also discussed some aspects on the concept of vision mission, how to write it, and some examples on that. And in addition to that, we also discussed the basic part of the Bloom's taxonomy, which is actually a background to what we will be talking today, the concept of COs and all those things. So I hope I am able to share my screen now with you people. Is my screen visible?
Yes, sir. It's visible.
Okay. So let us talk about yesterday. We had a very brief discussion on these points. So let us come into little more details. I was talking that the objectives and outcomes are primarily like what you decide itself in the beginning of the program, that what are the objectives of a particular program, and those are the broad statements that describe, sorry, so those are the broad statements that describe the career and professional accomplishments that program is preparing graduates to achieve. So that means right at the start, what do you want your students to achieve? What do you want your students to learn? That learning can be as a part of your curriculum. That learning can be something beyond curriculum. That learning can be related to the behavioral aspects. So whatever you intend, you just write down, and those are called program education objectives. And similarly, when we see program outcomes, they are the narrower statements that describe what the students are expected to know and be able to do. That means at the end of the program, so what are those expected outcomes? What they will be able to know and what they would be able to do with what they know. So that is the application part. And normally the POs they relate to the skills, knowledge, and behavior aspect. So you talk about any program. Depending on what type of program it is, but you will agree that the expected outcomes are related to the knowledge, they are related to the skill and the behavior that the students acquire through the program. So this is what is our program outcomes. And let me tell you that it's a particular terminology when we talk about this NP accreditation program outcome, but you will come across a terminology like learning outcomes also. So maybe for some other courses in the related disciplines, apart from engineering, we will be talking about learning outcomes. So POs are those statements. So that was generalized one. So POs are those statements which in the MBA engineering program, or maybe in some other program of MBA, all these program outcomes have already been given at the end of the SAR and they have been frozen. So that also we will just discussing. And similarly, apart from program outcomes, there are program specific outcomes, because as I told that those outcomes are in general in nature, and the PSOs are statements that describe what the graduates of the specific education program should be able to do of the specific education program. So not only a general engineering program, So we may be particularly talking about one of the programs, electrical or mechanical program. Okay. Similarly, COs are the course outcomes are the statements that describe what students should be able to do at the end of the course. So that means at the end of the semester. So in the program, we are talking that what the students would be able to do at the end of the program, at the end of the 2 years or at the end of the 4 years. But here we are talking what students are learning in the terms of the knowledge or in terms of the skills at the end of a particular program. Sorry, at the end of a particular course, that is at the end of the semester. Fine. So when you talk about writing of PEOs, so in general, so these are the things what should be covered in the PEOs. So PEOs or the program education objectives, they have to be specific, they have to be measurable, achievable, realistic, and time bound, and it must include in some way or the other that who is involved in this. Students are there, so you need to uh, show. Similarly, what are the desired outcomes, the intended behavior, and the skill that changes that should result? How the progress is to be measured? What is the tool that you will be used? Will it be surveys? Will it be examination? Will it be test? And what is the identified criteria for the success? And after how much time you are expecting that what is the time frame for these objectives? Is it 2 year program, 3 year, or a 4 year program? So accordingly, so these are some of the broad guidelines. But let me tell you, as an experienced faculty members, I think these are some of the points which would be more of interest to you. So whenever you are writing a PEO for an engineering program, be it electrical engineering program, so now holistically you must think that what are the exactly the objectives of the engineering program. So for any engineering program, one of the things that I expect or which is to be imparted to the students is the technical knowledge. So be it a broad knowledge of electrical, electronics, engineering, technology practices, or it can be design application. So I'm just talking in general. So one thing is the technical knowledge. Similarly, another major objective for an engineering program is the technical skill. So you must ensure that in the relevant discipline, the required skills are being imparted to the students. So that is your another major objective. Similarly, be it any discipline, be it any branch of engineering, so you will agree that computer skills is a major objective. So you must ensure, and we see to it that the students are able to utilize the computers and the software. They might be able to write some programs or not, but yes, they must be able to use. Qualities. So all the things are the professional skills are available in the student. And then the some social awareness of social concerns must be there to the students. What is the say professional responsibilities in the workplace, how you have to behave in the workplace, something like professional ethics. Okay. And the lifelong learning. So these are broad objectives which you might expect that yes, these should be imparted as an objectives to any engineering program. So now for your engineering program, you have to write down these objectives. Might not be 7, it can be 3, it can be 4, it can be 5, but then you would write it in such a way so that these things are included in your PEOs. So whenever you are writing these say PEOs, there has to be set process of formation and dissemination. Formation is, so how do you make committees, how do you discuss, which stakeholders you are involving, how you are involving, and then how once you have done this, how now you are disseminating, how you are telling it to the stakeholders or the students. Okay. So this is one of the just a suggestive slides that how you can go for filing your POs. So this is also a part of your criteria one. And with inputs from the Department of Vision and Mission, you have a Department Advisory Committee or DSC, and then accordingly you take inputs from the stakeholders. Okay, so when you take inputs from the stakeholders, so how do you take input? It's not that important. It is important that you must take the inputs, because it might not be possible, for you in situations like the current one, to have all of them together. So maybe through email, through online, or maybe through discussion. So that, but yes, some input, some feedback has to be there from the employer, of course faculty and staff is there, alumni, parents, students. And then based on these inputs, and based on the basis Department of Vision and Mission, through Department Advisory Committee, you formulate these draft PEOs. I mean, you just write them as a draft one, and then getting it through Program Assessment Committee, again finalizing them, checking them. If you find there is any revision is required, then you say that you go back and do the exercises. If no, then you finalize the POs and get it approved from the competent authority or the competent body. So those, that approval can be from the director, that approval can be through your board of studies, or maybe a related academic body in your institution. So this is one of the frameworks that how you go for. And similarly, some similar one. The things are almost similar here also. So you go from institutional vision mission to Department of Vision Mission, and then after brainstorming and say views, you get these POs to the say quality assurance cell, and then summarize them, take them to Department of Advisory Board. If it is satisfactory, you publish them. So that means some process you have to follow, so that you have to see that based on your institution say conditions, or maybe the structure, so how you are able to finalize these PEOs. So once these PEOs have been finalized, then it is important the dissemination of PEOs. So when I say dissemination, that means how you are telling it to the others. So the three modes that we say for dissemination are the print media, the electronic media, and the display media. So let us start with electronic media. So nowadays, it is expected that almost everything, all information that you want to intend to disseminate is available on your website. So on your website, you can have a departmental web page. You must be having, and on that departmental web page, you must write down these POs. So number one is they are available on your website. Similarly, there can be certain electronics, those boards in your institution. So on those types of display boards also, they can be, the POs can be there, particularly in the department. Secondly is the print media. Whenever you are printing your brochures, or maybe say your departmental newsletter, or maybe your lab manuals for the particular program. So say your diary. So whatever that printing part is going on, so as far as possible, if it is possible, then you can have POs in that also. It depends. If it is a central document like a institutional diary, so maybe it might not be possible to include all the POs, but then yes, you can have vision and mission statements over there. But yes, if it is a departmental newsletter, if it is a departmental some document, then of course all these things can be inculcated. And then is the display media. So those displays can be in the HOD office, can be in the departmental corridors, it can be in the library, it can be in the classrooms. So such places where these things can be displayed. So these are the three major ways of the say dissemination of the PEOs, or maybe for vision mission also. But then very important part is that you have to make it a best practice. So the other day I was discussing this to some other college. So the senior people asked me that how it can be a part of best practice, because normally what we do, we just write down, we just display it, and actually nobody knows it. So actually you need to form as a best practice. So one or two ways that we discussed about the best practice was, say in the student induction program. So now we are doing it for 2 or 3 weeks. So in that also, program wise when you are doing it, or department wise when you're doing it, So you must ensure that head of the department, or maybe at somebody at the center level, is able to tell those new admission students that what is the vision, mission, what is the meaning of this. And similarly for the department, you can convey that what is the meaning of this POs, what is COs, why we are going for it. So they must you must be able to make them understand that actually all these things are for you, and you have now taken admission here, you know, to become a mechanical or electrical engineer. So you must know that what is expected out of you at the end of the 4 years. Similarly, for course outcomes and for PEO, so all these things must be told to the students in the induction program. So that is one of the best practices that we can take up. Apart from that, there is another best practice that whenever you go for any departmental program, then right at the start of that program, like you do Saraswati Vandana, or some other similar thing, you also must tell the group of those participants that what is the vision of this department, why we are doing it. Very short, it will not take more than 30 seconds or a minute. Some students or some teacher can be there, and then you must tell that. Now, depending on what type of program it is, so it can be vision mission of the department, or it can be PEOs of the particular program. So what is going to happen is when students and faculty members they listen to it again and again carefully, then the things go into the mind. Yes, this is important, and then once it is important, you try to understand this. Once you understand this, then you try to put it into the practice. So I thought I will discuss these parts also, that how not only writing, not only putting them on the papers, that how in actual practice they can be brought these things like vision, mission, and POs and COs. Okay, so I think that is the true sense of implementing your OB. So this, I think, similar to this, I have discussed that how do you establish PEOs. So how you need to have inputs from the stakeholders, and department advisory board forms it, and then some inputs from graduate attributes as the base and vision mission, then the assessment and evaluation. Okay, right. So this is just an example for the PEO for a BTech program in mechanical engineering. So all those things that we were discussing, so in a single slide, this is a representation of how you can make PEOs to prepare students for successful careers in industry that meet the needs of Indian and multinational companies. So when I write down meet the need of Indian and multinational companies, so uh, whatever are the current practices, I think you should be now able to tell them, because you got a PO related to this. To develop the ability among students to synthesize data and technical concepts for application of product design, to provide opportunity for students to work as a part of uh, teams on multidisciplinary projects. So when you want to do this, so then those opportunities can come through various projects that you are floating as a part of credits, or maybe it is seminar, or maybe it's some other small projects, or maybe the students are participating in various activities in the institution and outside the institution. To provide the students with the sound foundation in the mathematical, scientific, and engineering fundamentals necessary to formulate, solve, and analyze engineering problems, and to prepare them for graduate studies. So that's what I was telling you, that you must write down in some way or the other that why you're doing it, so that if you are teaching physics in the or mathematics in the first or second semester, then you should be able to correlate that why are you teaching this, how it is a part of your objective, and what do you want to actually get out of that. Okay, so to promote student awareness of the lifelong learning and to introduce them to professional ethics and codes of professional practice. So that's why some institutions have subject of professional ethics, but otherwise you organize very lot of activities, maybe some expert lectures, to inculcate this sense, this value addition among the students. So this is an example of PEO. So this is a comprehensive example of vision, mission, and PEOs. Okay. Learning outcomes I already told you. So they are the intended endpoints of engagement of specific learning activities, and they are written in the future tense. Okay. and they should be achievable, they should be accessible, and you must use the simple language that everyone is able to understand, and they always contain those verbs. So when you write down the POs, you must be able to answer these questions. What do you want your students to know by the time they finish your program? What do you want students to be able to do with what they know? And what do you want students to care about? Right? So, any program you talk about, these are the general dimension of the program outcomes. So, knowledge is one of the major things that you want that it should be as an outcome. Then the skill outcomes, attitude and the value outcomes, the behavioral outcomes. So, by all those activities that we undertaking, and we want that such outcomes should be there. Okay, and this is just an example of program outcomes of an engineering program. So this I have taken from that NBA document. So as I told you that these 12 outcomes are frozen and they are written in that document of SAR. So which is a common for any engineering program. But then you must have, as the last line says, you must have specific 2 to 4 PSOs, or the program specific outcomes, right? And these are the outcomes for MBA program as given in the document. Apply knowledge of management theories and practice to solve business problems, foster analytical and critical thinking. So all these are available with you in that booklet. But yes, it is always expected that you can add additional POs as you add PSOs over there. And whenever you add additional POs, or whenever you write this PSOs, you must ensure that it is something beyond POs. Sometimes what happens, I've seen, you write down the similar things that are already there in the POs. So it's not a general now; it's more of a specific now. So they have to be specific to the particular program. They can be 2, 3, or 4 in number, and must be realistic and achievable. With the program you are expecting as PSOs. Why? Because that is the strength of your department, that is the strength of your faculty. So in that case, you might be doing some specific program with the industry every semester, or maybe every year, or maybe some in-house training you are imparting. So those can be as a part of the curriculum, or maybe some activities, some programs that you are conducting during the program. So those are also the program specific outcomes. Of course, these are going to vary from program to program. So that's why it is the beyond PUs. Fine. And this is just an example of PSOs for EC program. Uh, Similarly, this is another additional PO for MBA program to inculcate in students the ability to gain multidisciplinary knowledge through simulated problems, case studies, and the projects. Fine. So now comes the mapping of the structure. So we have talked about the PEOs and the POs, and how do you write down POs and how do you write down PSOs. And some of them are given by regulatory body, and then some you add to that. Now, when I talk about mapping the structures, it is actually I'm talking about the relationships, that how they are related, how they are derived from each other. So one is the vision mission of the institute and the department. So that we discussed yesterday also, that this vision mission for the institute and the sorry or the department, so they are primarily linked to each other. Rather, the mission is derived from the vision statement. So and similarly, there is a relation between the vision and the mission. So when I say relationship, it has to be there. That means whatever your PEOs are there, and you must be able to correlate those PEOs with your say mission statements. So when you have got certain mission statements with you, so then you should be able to map them on a scale 1 to 3. Just a minute, I think there was some issue, some noise was there. Anyway, is my voice is clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So this is one such when you talk about the mapping with the PEOs and the POs. Of course, this type of mapping is not required as a part of NBA document. But still, I must tell you that whenever you write PEOs and POs, so you must see to it that they are connected to each other in a way that you are able to formulate the relationship between them. So when you make a matrix like this, you ensure that there is no row or no column that goes blank, so that each PEO is connected to a PO at least, and vice versa. So this is one thing. And similarly, yesterday someone asked me about this, consistency of mission and the POs of the department. So this is how you write down in the tabular form. So write down the statements of PO and then missions over there, and then you connect them maybe through a low, medium, high, or maybe a 1, 2, 3. So this is say for example, these are your say mission statements to impart knowledge through innovative teaching methodologies, and then 3 mission statement you got. Similarly, you are having these 4 PEOs, and then you connect. Say for example, PEO number 1 is connected to mission number 1 as high, that is a 3, and then other one is a medium and then low. Similarly, PEO number 2 is connected as 2, 3, and 1, and in the last column you find there is justification is written that if this PEO is highly connected or on a scale of 3 connected to M1, then how?
Who's going to tell me the answer, Akira? Deepika, are you there?
Okay. So this is how the POs are related to the mission, and a very important part is justification. So you need to justify as a group, as a department, that how they are related and what is the relationship, cross-functional relationship between them. What is the justification? Fine. This I included this example, and then I told that there is a mapping between the question paper and the CO. So this is what it is actually showing, that normally we write down only marks. So you need to write down, at least you need to write down how it is connected with which CO. This part is connected with which CO, CO1, CO2, or so on, and maybe the level of Bloom's taxonomy can also be covered over there, and finally how this is covered to the PO. So I think you can take the reference from the AICT exam reform policy. In that also some examples are given. So you can take up from that, and accordingly I think you must include these in your question papers also. Fine. So now let us come to the course outcomes. So we have been talking about PEOs or the POs or the PSOs or learning outcomes and their relationship between them. So course outcomes are the narrower statements that describe what students are expected to know and be able to do at the end of each course. That is, at the end of each semester when the course is over, when the subject is completed. These relate to the skill, the knowledge, and behavior that students acquire in their matriculation during the course. So, these are the typically statements which are 2 to 4 in number, or around 4 in number, and then each course outcome must contain one action verb. So I think it's better to show with this example. And uh, one thing is that the course outcomes, they must start with a similar line. At the end of a course, a student would be able to, since this is in a future tense, and then all the further outcomes must be connected to this. The important part is that each of this course outcome is connected to the syllabus. Fine. So when I write down these 5 course outcomes, so that means they are somewhere connected to the syllabus. Number one. Secondly, there is no part of the syllabus that is left to be connected. So that is the complete syllabus is covered in these 5 outcomes. The outcome of this that particular syllabus. Secondly, each of the course outcome contains at least one action verb. So compute, calculate, apply, relate, select. These are the action verbs from this Bloom's taxonomy. So you must ensure that at least one action verb is taken in each of these course outcomes. Fine. Similarly, another important part is that it is not necessary that the number of course outcomes should be equal to the number of units or the number of chapters. You might have four chapters and 5 course outcomes, or vice versa. So these are few points that you must take care when you are writing the course outcomes. Okay. Similarly, this is one example. This is another example that I will be dealing further also. So course outcomes illustrate, classify, correlate. So these all are the action verbs that are being used. Okay. This is another example for MBA, financial and cost accounting. So these are again course outcomes containing the action verbs like demonstrate, understand, exhibit. Okay. Similarly, if there is some in-plant training or maybe some internship which has got some credits, so there also course outcomes you must ensure that they are being met. So get familiarized with various technological trends, approaches, and applications. Demonstrate understanding of relevant application-oriented subjects in a better perspective. So that means when a student goes to industry, for a semester or maybe for 2 months. So what are those things that are expected out of him or her when he comes out of that industry? Okay. So once these outcomes are available to you, now very important part is the assessment. So you have spent a lot of time in the semester in the program, but then you must be able to assess whether they have been attained or not. So the assessment tools are categorized into the direct and the indirect tools. So direct assessment is where directly you are able to take marks or something like in a say quantitative manner. So that can be a continuous evaluation, that can be class test, a quiz, presentations. I mean anything that you do similar things in the class as a part of the assessment. Okay, and then you give marks to the students. So those are the methods of the direct assessment. But then in the outcome based education, we also talk about the indirect assessment. That is, it's not only you assessing and checking the marks, it is also from the third party. It can be through a survey, it can be through student exit survey, it can be through employer survey, it can be through co-curricular activities or extracurricular activities that the student is going for. Fine. So after assessment, you need to understand that how the attainment of course outcomes and program outcomes is to be done. So as far as the attainments are concerned, there are certain prerequisites that must be fulfilled. So say for example, the course outcomes are available as per the Bloom's taxonomy verbs. So since we have already talked about these course outcomes and they are all available, so it is expected that you have written all these course outcomes. POs, PSOs are finalized as per guidelines, so that also we have discussed. And COPO mapping is that one thing that we'll be discussing now. And the assessment structure means the internal marks, external marks, that 70-30 ratio. So they are available with you. Similarly, internal assessment marks are also available with you. And the board average is available, or maybe the say university average is available, or something is available to you which can be compared holistically. Otherwise, you have to compare it with your own system itself. Then to need to check the attainment. So for that, you identify, as we talked, the direct and indirect assessment tools and get the course assessment results. So those results are available to you at the end of the semester. At least the final results are available. In that you can check up how many marks the students have secured. And then you check up this attainment level based on the preset criteria. So that we'll be talking about. You list all such course attainment of all the courses and then assess the PO attainment by indirect method. So let us actually see how this happens, how this COPO metrics, and then how do you check the PO level, whether the target has been achieved or not. If it is achieved, it is okay. You can set up higher targets. If it is not achieved, then you put up an action plan to attain the target in subsequent years. Fine. So let us take up a case study. So this is a course of quality management that I was just talking about. So this is a very conventional structure we have in our system. number of credits, external marks are given 60-40 ratio, and lecture, practical, everything is given. Then you got a set of syllabus with you. Okay, so this I am showing a conventional practice, it is there. And at the end you got a reference books. And yes, the best practice is that you have some useful web links, so that a student is directly able to go to that link and find certain notes, or say freeware, or some PPT, or some video lectures on that. So this you can find out on various platforms, maybe NPTEL or a YouTube, or okay. Then you need to write down the course outcomes based on the syllabus. Now the syllabus that I've shown you, if you go to that syllabus again, the syllabus contains 5 chapters or the 5 units, but the number of outcomes are 6 here. Okay, so that's what I was telling, that it is not mandatory that they should be equal. And once you write down this course outcomes, okay, so then is the COPO mapping. So here you have written COs in the first column and POs are at the top, so you can include PSOs also. Now with each of these COs, these 6 COs, you have to map how you are leading to program outcomes through this course outcome on a scale of 1 to 3. Whether you are leading it or not, if yes, then what is the scale of that? Whether the very strong is 3, medium is 2, and low is the 1. Now it is not expected, and it is not always possible also, that a single CO will lead you to all the POs. Why? Because it is expected that POs would be attained at the end of the program, maybe at the end of the 4 years. But this is just a subject for 1 semester, so it may not be fulfilling all the POs. So whatever it is, you have to write down, you have to connect it to a PO. So this can be done by a group of teachers who are in the similar or the same area. So you form a matrix like this. Here you find numbers written 3, 1, and maybe dash. And then at the end, the lowest row, you find that there is average. So you find out that what is the average connectivity of the COs and the POs in this case. Fine. So once you have done with this, then you do this for each course. So this I have done for M705, one course. So this you do for all the courses. So in the first column, you see all the courses are there. Okay. So it may be that say you are going for 40 courses in a particular program. So all those 40 will come in the first column, and then all the POs are at the top, including PSOs. And then this matrix will be filled with numbers, that how these COs are connected to the POs. Now, at the end, of course, the average can be there. Now, one very important thing is that this is just a connectivity. This is just how they are connected. It has nothing to do with the performance of the students. Your students have not yet come into picture, that how many marks they are securing. Okay, so ideally speaking, say if in a hypothetical case you find that there is a common curriculum, there are common courses, there are common POs, then this metric should be same for also similar courses. Okay, so once you have done it, then is important that how you are now making the attainment with respect to your students. So for this, as I've written 2 bullets above, write course outcomes that you already done, prepare COPO matrix that you already done. Now the direct assessment is 80% or indirect is 20. So let us presume it is direct only right now for our understanding purpose. And then you got a breakup to this. The board exam 70%, sessional exams 20%, continuous assessment 10%. So that will depend upon your exam board, or maybe that will depend upon your university guidelines. So once it is there with you, let us presume that you got certain preconditions, or say pre-parameters that you decide your own the attainment levels. Now say for example for the midterm or say the continuous evaluation, you decide that attainment level is 1 if 60% of students have secured marks more than 60%. If 70% students obtain marks more than 60% marks, then attainment level is 2. And similarly, if 80% students secure marks more than 60%, attainment level is 3. So that means if you are talking about some internal assessment, okay, and suppose your internal assessment is of 60 marks, so then the benchmark you have kept here is 30 marks. Okay. So if 60 students out of 100 in your class have obtained marks more than 30, then you say that attainment level is 1. If 70% students obtain, then it is 2, otherwise it is 3. So this is just a benchmark that you have kept. Okay. So this you can vary also depending upon the type of the input that you are getting. So these markers are always there for the improvement, but they should not be too low, that you can't say that I have kept a marker as 40%, everything is achieved. No. Similarly, for end semester examination, you might have a different attainment level, where we have seen that here we kept it as 50%, because it's a normal practice that has been seen that students are securing better marks in the internal or in the continuous assessment than in the end semester examination. Fine. Now these are just reference values. So based on this, let us presume, let us leave right now this indirect assessment for course and survey. Let us presume that there are 10 students in the class, and there is some class assessment that has been done, and based on that, there is a class average marks out of 20. Assignment marks are there, and end semester examination marks is there. Now based on those preset criteria, you have found that 70% of students have secured marks more than 60%. That means out of this 10, say 7% students have obtained marks more than 70% in the class test. So you will go back to the marker, this particular marker, and you will find that attainment level is 2 here. Okay. So when the attainment level is 2, you write down 2 at the last, this last row. Okay. Similarly, for assignments, you found that 90% of students have secured marks more than 60%. So there you say your marker is 90%, sorry, 60%. So you say that the attainment level is 3 over there. Fine. Similarly, in the end semester examination, you found 70% of students have obtained marks more than 50%. You again go back to that preset criteria and found that the attainment level is 2 here. Now these attainment levels are to be multiplied with the weightages. Say for university examination, 70% weightage was there. So 70% of this board exam 2, 70% of 2, sessional exam 20% weightage, so 20% of 2 and 10% of 3. So 1.4 plus 0.4 plus 0.3. So you can say that the attainment of COs for this particular your course by direct assessment is 2.1. Similarly, you can have if there are any questions, you please ask me. Similarly, you can go for some course and survey, and there you can again have some markers, and there we found that level 3 was attained because we have kept our rule like this. Attainment level is 1 if average score of 60% students is more than 3 on a scale of 5. That is on a scale of 5 when you did some survey. So if 60% students have secured marks, this marker more than 3, then you say attainment level is 1. If 70% secures, it is 2, and if 80% secure, it is 3. So you find here that your marker, in this marker, 90% students have secured more than 60%. So then the level is 3 here. So again, you see that indirect assessment is only 20% credit. So 20% of 3. So that is 0.6. So when I talk about the overall attainment of the CO, where direct assessment is 80% and indirect is 20%. So then attainment of CO was 2.1 as we have seen in the previous slide. Let me go back to previous slide. So this is where we got 2.1. Okay. And this is where we got 3. Okay. So 80% of 2.1 and 20% of 3, because the ratio is 80-20. So 1.68 plus 0.6, that is 2.28. So 2.28 is now the overall attainment for this particular course. So this is how I have shown you through a case study that how you can find out the direct and indirect assessment, and then find out that what is the overall CO attainment for this particular course. This is 2.28. Now this is the repeat slide that I'm showing you, that this was only the mapping. and now we have found something about students. So based on this, now we must be able to connect the two. Based on the mapping of this particular subject M705 with these POs, and now you have also got the attainment of this subject, that is 2.28. Let us connect them. So what I have done here is that I have added a second column, additional column, which is CO attainment. So like I found this 2.28 for this particular subject. So you need to find out this for all the subjects, okay? And then fill up the second column in this case. And then 2.28 has to be connected with all these PUs. How? Whatever was the mapping according to that. So 2.28 into 2.33 divided by 3. So this comes out to be 1.77. So why 2.33? Because 2.33 was the mapping of this, as you see in this slide. Why divided by 3? Because it was on a scale of 3. So likewise, for this PO2, I will do 2.28 into 0.5 divided by 3. Okay. And likewise, I have shown another calculation of PO8, 2.28 into 0.16 divided by 3, so that is 0.12. So likewise, I am going to fill up this for all the courses, and this will be a holistic matrix, maybe in the Excel form, and then at the end, in the last row, you can find out the average, that what is the direct attainment of the PO through the curriculum, that is through all the courses. So once you have done this, you see in PO attainment also direct is 80%, like that was in the CO. So here also we have to now go for indirect method, and in the indirect method you can have survey, which can be from students or employers, or co-curricular activities to the teachers. So survey 1, survey 2, survey 3, and then when you do the surveys, you then correct it to the POs, and average of that, then you find out the indirect attainment. Fine. So just as a presentation, I have shown this in the last row, 2.3, 2.4, 2.7. So that is on a scale of course, on a scale of 3. So you have to convert it on a scale of 3. So now direct attainment is this one in the row of the direct attainment. Indirect attainment is what I have shown you. And now you need to find out the PO attainment. So 80% of the credit is given to direct and the 20 to the indirect. So 80% of the second row and 20% of the third row. Okay. So PO attainment will be 80% of direct assessment and 20% of the indirect assessment. So this is going to be like this. Direct assessment I have written 80% of that row. Indirect I have written 20% of that. So PO attainment is whatever you see in the last row, 2.22, 2.1, 1.7, 5, and so on. So this is actually the final PO attainment, and then you have to see that what was your target, since it is on a scale of 3. So what was your target? So has your target been achieved? If not, then the what action is to be taken. So now you find in the NBA document in the initial slides when I showed you. So one of the criteria was related to continuous improvement. So in that continuous improvement, this part is going to come, that how the POs have been attained or not, and whether if they have been attained, then what are your future targets, and if it has not been attained, then what activity you are going to do so that PO can be now attained, right? So this is how you are going to see it, something like this. So this is the final sheet for one of the programs. You will find this CO score is given. I don't know you're able to see it clearly or not. CO score is given in this particular second column, and then you have got final results for the POs, and then at the end you find there is a alumni or the exit survey, and then the employer survey, and then the final PO attainment is there written in red. Okay, and then what is the target value, and then what is the gap. So this you have to do for each batch. That means every year you will be doing this activity. Okay, and then you are going to compare this 3-year analysis, and you are going to see that how for these 3 years, what was the target value, what was the PO attainment, and how much is the gap. Say for example, the target value was 50% for PO1. Okay, and you could attain 62.6. So yes, you have achieved it. But in one of the cases, if you see in PO3, when the target value was 50%, okay, but you could achieve only 48.64. So then it is written in the minus, if you see in the third, that grouping gap percentage. Okay. So here another important thing that you see is that the targets have been increased every year. So for batch 15 to 17, say for example, the target was 50%, then the target was 55%, and then the target was 60%. So this is how I think you must go for this PO attainment values. Okay. And this is the whole methodology for the COPO say assessment and attainment. Fine. So I think this is what I wanted to show you. So it's a little detailed methodology, but it's very simple. Once you go through this methodology, you will be able to find that once you do it in Excel, so you will be able to do the calculations also automatically. They will be done. But yes, there are two major parts to this. You know, one is we talk about the say CO attainment. One is talk about the PO attainment. So that CO attainment work is at the each individual faculty level. So you need to find out the CO attainment for your particular course, and then the central committee at the department level, would compile all the CO attainment and check up the mapping that is already there with them, and then they are also going to put up the CO attainment values, and with the central Excel available with them, they will be able to find out the PO attainment value. So I think this is not that difficult. It's only a matter of little understanding, and then I hope it goes well. Okay. So if there are any questions, I'm not sure you are able to understand fully or not, because unless you do it actually with your own hands. So, but still, if there is any queries, you can get in touch with me, or maybe you can ask some questions.
Respected participants, in case you have any query, please you can ask Dr. Sandeep Grover sir in the chat box, or you can unmute yourself.
Okay, let me check the chat box.
Good morning, sir. The session was fabulous. I would like to say that many doubts are cleared in this session. As we are really doing this attainment levels, we are calculating. My many doubts have been cleared by your session. Thanks a lot, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Sir, a humble request. Can you share the PPT, sir? Because we have just understood how the calculations are to be done, but somewhere, if the PPT is with us now, we will be able to recollect all the things.
See, the guidelines that I have taken, they are from that MBA booklet only.
Okay, sir.
Okay, okay, I will share the link with you people. Okay.
Okay, sir. Thanks a lot. Thank you, sir.
I link the share with the organizers, and then I think. But still, if there is any doubt, you can just ask me.
Sir, excuse me. Excuse me.
Yes.
Slide number 111.
Slide number
111.
11.
111. 111.
111. Yeah, tell me.
So
this one, huh?
End survey.
Yeah.
And for 17 batch, where we have to take. So they are completed already.
Mm-hmm. No, this is for the current batch only. So this is an exercise which is expected that you will be doing it at the end of the course.
Okay, but you are telling that in individual subject you are calculating.
Yes, individual subject only. So at the end
20% where we have to get it is exit survey.
Yeah, that's what I said. See, there are two ways. One is that when you are doing this CO assessment and attainment, you give 100% credit to this part. Okay. You give 100% credit to this part and you calculate it like this. But then it is mandatory that when you are going for PO attainment, then you include the indirect assessment, because I have seen that sometimes, many times people not including. So whatever is obtained through this methodology, so that is final for the course outcome. This also you can do.
I'm not clear, sir.
See, I have talked about direct and direct, right?
Okay.
So 80-20. One is course attainment, attainment of the course outcome. One is attainment of program outcome. So I am saying that for attainment of course outcomes, you can take the direct assessment as 100% only. That is what many colleges are doing.
Hmm.
So that means based on the marks, you have got preset criteria, marks are available with you. And then if you are from a affiliated college, so this methodology will hold very much good for you. But when you're going for PO attainment, that means the
Hmm.
program outcome,
Hmm.
then the direct method and indirect method both are to be involved. And direct will be that CO attainment will be available to you, and indirect will be through the surveys. It depends actually that,
Problem. Suppose one fellow studying third year.
yeah, you are from which institution?
Tamil Nadu Nachimuthu Polytechnic College. Okay.
Okay, so that means it's a affiliated.
Final year students, they are studying how to conduct exit survey.
For final year students.
Yeah.
See, for
They
exit
joined in
survey,
18. They joined in 18. They will complete in 21st May. Now
okay,
they are going to complete.
yes,
How to conduct exit survey? Where we have to collect the forms.
that's what I'm saying. Once they pass out, or once they're in the about to pass out, then you float a Google form for them, where based on the POs of the polytechnic, POs of the diploma course, you ask them question that how much
From
attainment has been done.
for same students are not alumni.
No, not from alumni. See, if you are doing it for a batch of 18-21, so those students who are passing out in 21, one set has to be from those students.
Exit survey. Okay.
Yes. Okay. Then another set can be from alumni. Another set can be from employer. So then you need to find out the average of all these subjects. One such survey can be from teachers also, because
that's a doubt. Suppose one fellow studying in here, how alumni can give the mark to the third year students?
see, alumni is not giving marks to the students. Alumni is giving marks to the concept. You will ask a question to the employer that whether my student has got, say, for example, requisite knowledge or not. They are not assessing the individual student.
Okay.
They are assessing the system, your curriculum, your teachers.
Okay.
Because say if I ask them that based on your experience, my students are working in your organization. Now, what do you think that they have got about their technical knowledge on a scale of 1 to 5? Do you ask them such questions? At the end of the day, very small weightage comes into picture, because you take 3-4 surveys, then you take from different bodies, and the credit is also only just 20%. So this is how you go.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Can we write common PSOs or departments? No, departments. The PSOs are not from the say department. PSOs for the program. So those PSOs will be there from your particular say program, based on the specialization, based on the strength. Okay. So this is just question in chat box. Okay, so what I will do is, a lot of people have asked about the soft copy and all these things. So I am going to share, the link with the organizers, and then they will forward it to you through WhatsApp or mail, whatever it is. Okay, and if still there are doubts, you can get in touch. No problem. So I have also mentioned. Okay. So this is what I have given you. Yeah, this is what I've already given you. You can. Fine. Any more questions? So see, this is basically the major part of your outcome-based education. When you talk about the concept of OBE. Okay. So I think it's over there. If there are no other questions, then thank you very much.
Okay. Any more questions, participants? Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Professor Sandeep Grover, sir, for explaining and guiding our participants related to concept of PO, COPO mapping and attainment. It was a very informative session, sir. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Thank you.
And respected participants, next session will be delivered by Professor Bhupender Singh on Research and Development Consultancy. The session will be resumed at 12 noon. Till the time, please don't forget to mark your attendance and please fill the form for feedback.
My next session is at 2:30, no?
2:30, sir. Yes.
Thank you.
Komal ma'am, just a query. Yesterday we were told that every day the links for the recordings will be shared, but they are not being shared on the group. Can you
Ma'am,
please,
we will be uploading the videos on our YouTube channel. So from that particular link, you can go through the videos.
ma'am, can those links be shared on the group?
After the completion of this seminar, we'll be sharing that, ma'am.
Madam, Komal madam,
Yes, sir.
madam, feedback form you have to simplify. Again, every time you are asking name, every time you are asking phone number, every time you are asking session number, all these things.
Okay,
Please,
sir. I'll ask the concerned person to make
because
it.
you are giving for the day first session. That is not mandatory. You give like
Okay.
directly.
Okay, sir.
Every time session, every time name, every time phone. Otherwise, you give the seat number, we will automatically type it.
Yes,
Every time.
okay,
Every time.
I'll definitely convey your message. Thank
Oh.
you. Yes, sir.